Hello and welcome to Leveraging AI, the podcast that shares practical, ethical ways to leverage AI to improve efficiency, grow your business, and advance your career. This is Isar Metis, your host, and I've got a great topic for you today. We all, both in our businesses and our personal lives, have to collect information. We need to collect information from employees, from clients, from colleagues, from prospects, from friends when we're planning a road trip somewhere, from other parents in the school, from neighbors in the HOA, every time we go to the doctor's office. Every time somebody opens a customer service ticket, all of these things are means of collecting information. But I don't know a single person, myself included, that wakes up in the morning and I'm like so excited that I need to fill up a bunch of forms today. That just doesn't happen. So forms have been our way to collect information and analyze information afterwards for a very long time. The problem with forms is that, first of all, they're static, meaning by definition, there's one size fits all for what you're trying to do, which means you're not collecting enough information on things you may want to do with specific individuals, and you're collecting too much information on stuff in other cases, which is not optimal for the people who are collecting the information, whether, again, you're a person or a business. And it's really annoying for the people who fill up the forms because you like, why do you need to know this information about me? But it's a mandatory field that you have to fill out. But all of this is changing literally right now with agents, because agents can have a conversation with you on any channel. This could be text, WhatsApp, Slack, Teams, emails, and even voice. And that makes it a lot more fun, and B, because agents can understand what's going on, can be personalized for specific use cases for specific individuals based on just the information you need to do. So this is a game changer for all the use cases that I mentioned before, which, as I mentioned, is stuff that we are doing on one side of the equation or the other almost every single day. Now, as on this podcast, we focus on the how and not the what. Like, how do, okay, this is a great idea, Sai. I would love to hear more. How do you actually do this? How do you go from I have a static form to I have an agent that can help me collect the right information in a better way? And there is no better person literally on the planet to teach us this than Aytekin Tank. Aytekin has been the founder and CEO of Jotform. So those of you who don't know Jotforms is one of the leading forms platforms on the planet. It has been around since 2006, and it has more than 25 million users around the world. So they know one or two things about how forms work, and they're literally in the process of revolutionizing this whole concept of data collection with agents on the Jotform platform. And as I mentioned, that will change our interaction across so many aspects of what we do. A big one is definitely customer service, where literally every company on the planet has some kind of a form to collect information about customer service. And all of this is going to change, or I'll be more specific, it's changing. It's not going to change. And so I think this is a huge part of the transformation that is ahead of us. And in this particular case, there's no downside. There's a lot of negative things in AI that will have impacts, but I think in this particular case, it's all for the better. It's better for the people who are collecting the information. It's better for the people who are providing the information, and it's better for analyzing the information afterwards because it's going to be more specific. And so I'm really excited to welcome Aytekin to the show. Aytekin, welcome to Leveraging AI.
Hello, Izar. Nice to be on this show. And yeah, so it's really forms are kind of boring. And that's actually why I started Jotform like almost 2 decades ago. I was working as a developer for a media company in New York. And one of my duties was to create forms. Like I was creating all kinds of forms, customer support forms, contact forms, questionnaires, surveys, all kinds of forms. And I didn't like it. I hated it. And that's why I actually looked for a product that could actually take this away from me. But I couldn't find one. I decided, okay, hey, this is the product that I'm going to build. And that's been 19 years ago. And I started Jotform. And today we are serving 25 million people, also over 50 million forms. So we have been building all these additional products and features for our users. And since the start of this new AI revolution, I was really excited, and I was like looking into like how we could use this. And so one thing I've seen, like AI actually gives you this kind of like what makes AI so special is, especially these LLMs, is actually they can speak, and they don't just speak; they actually understand. They can understand. They can speak. They can really respond to you. They can provide information. So what's really happening here is that now products and users can actually speak to each other. I think that's the big revolution. Like everyone is like focused on these all these different topics like AGI or like code generation with AI, things like that. But I think it's what's really special about this new revolution is you can now speak to products. And I think that's really powerful. And that's actually what I decided to do. Like in the beginning, I was thinking, okay, what if we could just talk to the forms, right? What if we could just fill out the forms by talking to them and just talk to a chatbot and then fill out the forms. That's how we started this new product, Jotform AI agents. 1.5 years ago, we started building this product. And we actually that was actually pretty hard. Like I was expecting it to be easier, but it turned out like it's just because like we are entering data, like we need to make sure it's correct. Like it turned out actually quite challenging, but we were able to actually do it, and we were able to create this product, and we started giving it to our beta users. But something happened that surprised us. That when we gave this to our like small number of our users, like we started like 1% of our users, what we saw was like most people weren't actually using it for forms. Like there were some people who were using it for forms, but most people were actually using this as a customer service agent because this product also had the features so you could train your agent. So you create your AI agent, you can train it, you can add knowledge to it, you can upload files, you can actually make it use tools like appointments. But what happened was like most people actually start using this like a chatbot for their own organization, and they started like putting it on their website, and they were like just linking to it. And so most people were actually using it for customer service. That's what we discovered during their beta program. And even though right now like the product is actually really good at filling out forms, so we are actually about to release this product in 2 weeks, and I don't know when this is going to be available, but it's going to be a more product about the customer service. How can we provide customer service with AI agents? Imagine a world where every organization, every business actually has their own AI agents. And and these AI agents can actually like talk to your users, your customers, your clients, your students, your patients, your I don't know, like your volunteers if you're a nonprofit on your behalf. And it learns from you, and it actually takes action if someone needs to register because it already has it can actually do forms as well. It can take registrations, it can answer questions about your it can even you can even make purchases just talking to the AI agent. This has been like we've been working on it. We are really excited about it, and it's going to come out very soon. Yeah, I'm really excited about this new product.
Yeah, fantastic. I want to touch, first of all, we're going to dive into an actual demo so people see exactly how to set it up and what it can do. But before we dive into that, I want to touch on a few things that you said that are critical for people to understand. One is there are two things I highly agree with you or strongly agree with you as far as what are the two biggest things that I think AI will do. And it's going to do a lot of things. But from the day to day, like of our lives, what is it going to be the biggest difference? One is the fact that these tools know how to understand unstructured data, qualitative data, right? So previously, we all had the option to do quantitative data analysis, right? You could take numbers from somewhere, and if you were good enough in Excel or you had somebody good enough in Excel, you could analyze the data. Unstructured data, text, voice, we couldn't do anything with it unless you would hire McKinsey or Ernst & Young, and they have an army of people in India, and they will somehow try to make sense in 65,000 entries that you have in your ticketing system. Otherwise, it's just not doable. And now it's doable. AI is actually really good at analyzing unstructured data. So that's one aspect that I think it will completely change the way we collect and analyze data. But the second aspect is what you said is I think the concept of user interface is going to change from everything we know today, which is, okay, we have a keyboard, we have a mouse, we have a screen, to something that is a lot more natural, like we communicate with anything. And I think that will be true for anything we know. And it will take time. But why does my microwave need a keypad? Okay, I've put 2 pieces of pita bread in there. I want them defrosted. Boom. And it will do it. Like, why do I need to know what's the best time and what keys to press to defrost pita bread that has been frozen, or pizza, or whatever it is that you're doing? And I think that will change literally the interface of everything we know, because the keyboard and mouse that we're so used to for the last, I don't know, 30 years were a necessity. Like we didn't have a different way to communicate with a computer, but that's
I
not
mean,
the case anymore.
I've been building a software product that's been used by like millions of people for the last 2 decades. And like the biggest challenge has always been to make it easier to use because it's not people are not dumb, but people are busy and people are like overwhelmed and they don't have time to learn your product. And if they could just talk to your product, like just it's just so much easier. So the speech is the new UI, in my opinion. Like
Yeah,
speech is
yeah,
going to
I
be the
agree
new
with you.
UI
And
because
I will
everybody
add one
knows how
more.
to talk. Like even from the like the early age, what we learn first is we learn how to eat, maybe, and we learn how to walk. And then what do we learn? My 2-year-old girl is now starting to speak in sentences, and just we learn. And once we start learning speaking and listening to others, understanding and communicating with others with speech, it's pretty much everything we do. It involves, and that's what we know really best. And it's very second nature to us. It's very natural to us compared to trying to learn a product. That every product you have to learn it. It's just too much for people. Yeah.
Yeah, we agree 100%. I'll say one more thing specifically about data collection. Let's dive into the actual demo because I'm sure people are anxious to see how this is actually created. Data collection through speech actually gives you a lot more information than through a form. Because usually, let's take a entry form of a sales process. There's usually like a how did you hear about us section, and it's usually a drop down menu that has word of mouth, social media. I saw an ad on LinkedIn, whatever. And the problem with that is, first of all, it's bias. I give you 5 options. Maybe you heard about me on somebody else's podcast, right? Like in our case, right? Somebody, how do you hear about us? I heard you speaking on Isar's podcast. But that's not an option because you're not going to put 67 options there because the form will be not usable. The other thing is the nuances that you can get, right? When people speak, they will give you more information, more nuanced information than they will ever type in a form. And because AI know actually how to analyze that, it's not just, again, before you couldn't do anything with it because it was random text. But now you actually get a lot more information while making it easier for people to provide that information. So everybody wins. And that's why I'm really excited about this. But yeah, I will let you share your magic and how
Yeah,
it's actually
sure.
done and how the product actually works.
All right. Let me share my screen.
So, by the way, for those of you who are just listening, this is going to be available on our YouTube channel, so the Multiply AI YouTube channel, and there's a link to that in the show notes. And B, we're going to explain everything that's on the screen. So if you're not watching, don't worry about it. We'll walk you through what's actually happening so you can keep on driving or walking your dog or doing the dishes or whatever it is that you're doing when you are listening to the podcast.
I mean, there are some chatbots, AI agents. But when we were starting this, like one of the things that we really wanted to like really spend our time on was like give the AI agents a personality, give them these AI generated pictures. And like in the early days, like we were thinking about using robots and things like that, but we really wanted them to be like human, even though, they're always starting a chat with the AI agent, like they're always telling the user that you are talking to an AI agent. We still wanted them to look like human. And we gave people all kinds of different options, and they can even turn their faces. They can use their faces or they can turn their faces. We just change it, apply different AI functions to use their faces as well. But we wanted to give this like a real friendly AI face. And one of the things that we are really investing in is having all kinds of different options for the users to be able to talk to the customer service AI agents. You can talk on the phone, or you can put it on your website. Like we support WhatsApp, texting, SMS. We are working on Zoom. We are going to be available. It's going to be available when we release it in 2 weeks, and we are working on all these different actions to be able to really use this AI agent in multiple channels. And I'm going to create an agent here, but we can also see it in action. There's one here, right? I can just start speaking to it. What is Jotform AI agents? I can ask it questions to find out more about it. And what we found was like a lot of people actually use it on their website to be able to answer questions from their customers. Like one of the most popular used AI agent was like one of the festivals, a famous festival actually used this Jotform AI agents, and they were getting like so many questions about the festival, where people can park, what kind of different pricing options, like different kind of questions about the live event. And we see that a lot, especially on the live events. Like people are like, they don't have time to actually like just read everything on the website. So they can, instead they prefer to talk to an chatbot and ask their questions and get answers from that. So let me start by creating my first agent. And here we are, like we can create an agent from scratch. We can turn a form into an agent. This way we already have the form ready and it knows about it. And this is especially useful for existing Jotform users. We also created all thousands of AI agent templates, so people can actually they don't have to start from scratch. They can actually use a template. Or this is one of the things that I actually use on my own website. I actually cloned myself. I created this chatbot, and basically just I put on all the knowledge about me, my articles, and so that the people can actually talk here. And if they need to pass a note to me, if they need to just contact me for some reason, they can just write here and contact me. So this AI agent can talk on behalf of me.
Yeah, so I think the biggest difference here, and for those of you again who are not watching, one of the options is clone myself. And I think the biggest difference here is in addition to like company information, you give it your personal information, right? The way you write, your style, your tone, your history, your like all that stuff, other things you've written. So it can speak and behave a lot more like you than a generic agent, right? That's the biggest difference here.
So yeah, do you have a question?
No,
Okay,
let's build
so
one.
let's start from scratch. Let's think about what kind of agent we can create. Maybe we need to create a customer support agent for our website, or maybe we need to take an appointment. We could go ahead with this customer support agent and just we can write a prompt. This could be about like we can describe like our purpose, like what kind of customer support agent we are going to have. We could just start with this is for my small business. I do vacation, I don't know, rentals, right? So we could actually provide more information. We'll have an opportunity to enter more knowledge, but we could just provide all this information here. And then it will go ahead and it will also create forms if it sees that a form would be applicable, but it doesn't have to be. And so it created my agent. This is our AI agent builder. This builder actually you can actually customize your agent with different personalities. Like you can generate images for your agent and you can actually change the style, change the colors, whatever fits your case best. You can actually use those colors and style. And so this is the first screen, and we can actually preview what our agent looks like here. So here we are, we have this customer support AI agent. It's just because we don't have too much knowledge, like it just starts very, very generically, but we could enter knowledge about our business. Like we could add all the questions and answers about our business so that you
Let's
can actually answer those
let's
questions. Yeah.
let's dive into this for a minute because I think that's the biggest gap between
Yeah.
what historical kind of website chats were and what they are right now, right? So historically, you had to build this decision tree of what the chat will do at any given step and what questions it has answers for, because the idea of a website chat is not new. When I was running Last Minute Travel a decade ago, we had chat on our website, but it was a pain in the behind, like literally, because it only knew to answer stuff that it knew more or less word for word what the question is going to be. And then it had an answer. And then there was like a decision tree of which other things to do and whether to refer to something else or what links to give them and stuff like that. So let's dive for a second into how you quote unquote train the model in your platform so people have a better understanding of what it is now and how it is different than what it was before.
Yeah, so that's the train tab. And in the train tab, we could give AI agent a persona. We could give it a name, different name, and just different options. We can prompt it to be like shorter, give short answers or really minimal answers or long answers. And
Yeah, and there's also, I can see you can define whether it's friendly or professional or funny, like you can give it an actual personality.
yeah, since this is gonna be about like a vacation rental customer service agent, we could actually enter knowledge base about that and let's say question and answers. Maybe we provide what kinds of rentals you have. maybe rentals you have.
I
I
got to
had,
ask you a question about the Q&A
mhm,
section. If I don't fill it up, because now I can add questions and answers, but let's say I don't fill it up, but I do give it all that
mhm.
information in PDF files or my website and so on, it would still know how to answer these questions, right? That's the whole point.
Yeah, we could just enter a URL and it could actually read from that URL.
Yeah. So
So I
I
could
think
just say
that's the
we have,
biggest difference, right? So the
mhm,
biggest difference when you prep your AI is that you
mhm.
don't need to give it Q&A unless you have very specific questions for which you want very specific answers. Like, what is your cancellation policy? You don't want the AI to figure it out. You want it to be
Yeah,
very specific because that is going to cost you money if it gets the
yeah,
wrong. But I think knowing about your business in general is as easy as, okay, here's my website. Here is our terms and conditions. Here is our PDFs explaining about, in this particular case, each and every one of our properties, as far as how
yeah,
many rooms it has, how many beds does it have, how many people can sleep there, what's the time you can check in and check out, all these things. Usually, if you're a rental company, then you would have a PDF for each and every one of those, or a web page for each and every one of those. And I assume it can just learn from that, and then you don't need to write all
yeah.
those questions and answers.
Exactly. And that's like the very common case. People will just enter their URLs, and from there, our AI agents will actually learn their whole business, and it will be able to answer questions. And again, people are busy. They don't have time to read, find their answers in a very big website. So instead of doing that, they can talk to the AI agent. They can call up the phone number that's shown on the website, and then talk to the agent on the phone and get their answers, yeah, in a similar
Okay,
way.
cool. So let's dive into actions, because I think,
Hmm.
again, this is where traditional forums were very limited, or chats were very limited, and I think now it can actually do a lot more.
Yeah, here we actually we have all these. Basically, you can actually give it more instructions, right? You can actually instruct your AI agents take some actions. For example, when the conversation starts, what can we do? Like we could show a button, like we could say an exact message, say something like, "Welcome to our website. How can we help you today?"
Yeah, so basically this is like a very broad if this then that
Hmm.
allows you to define, but what other actions that are beyond the chat can you take? Because I think one of the biggest differences between again, traditional chats and agents is that agents can use other tools. They can actually go beyond, yes, go and I know what to answer in this case, or I know who to refer you to. It can actually do more stuff.
Yeah, and then we can actually test this out. We can just go to the preview page to see if this works. Welcome to our website. How can I help you today? Right? It follows our instructions.
Yeah.
And I want to find out about your rentals. It doesn't have too much knowledge, but it remembers that we had two ski rentals. We could provide more information and can provide details to the users. Basically, it's about training your AI agents. And we
You know what?
actually
I
have,
have an interesting question for you about feeding it
mhm,
live data. So let's use your example of two ski rentals. Will it be able to connect to like my reservation system and see if there's what's the availability in February for midweek days? Will it know how to answer questions like that, to actually go and search a live database from somewhere and then
yeah,
provide answers based on that?
that's actually what we are able to do with using tools. So it can actually integrate with Google Calendar, and it's able to integrate with your existing Google Calendar so that you can actually, similar to Calendly, it can, if you need to schedule. And it doesn't have to, if you think about it, like if you're using, I guess you could create for your vacation rentals, you could create different Google Calendars to keep track of them. Or Jotform also has its own like appointments fields. It's without there's actually it's actually possible to use this. Okay, this is the one, right? It's possible to do appointments even without a Google Calendar integration. Basically, you can actually set up your appointments. I guess we'll need to set up custom minutes, right? We need to set this up so that it's actually instead of hours, we need to be able to like book days, right? Uh, yeah.
Make it
So,
relevant to the specific use case.
okay, yeah, it's something, right?
Yeah, but let's go back to the tools for a second, because I
Mhm.
think that
Yeah.
will be interesting for people to understand. Because one of the biggest differences again about AI is that they can use all these tools. So in this particular case, it can take note, it can set an appointment, it can send an email, it can trigger a workflow, which is some kind of an automation. It can send messages on Slack and Teams and stuff like that. It can show a video. It can find a website. It can find information in a website. It can show lists. It can send API requests. So again, if you have a platform that is not integrated into this yet, you can use an API. So if you have, again, your own existing ticketing system or your own scheduling system or your own whatever it is that you have, ERP, like what, it doesn't matter. If somebody wants to ask you about an inventory, does it exist right now or not? This can query through an API or ERP and provide an accurate answer. So it's one of the biggest differences of agents versus just traditional chats is their ability to A, take actions, and B, use third-party tools because they understand the request, right? They're actually saying, oh, this person is asking me to have this item in my inventory. How can I check that? I have an API call that goes to my ERP system and can check if that thing is there and how long will shipping take, because it knows to ask for an address, and then it knows how to send another API call to UPS to see, okay, if I'm going to ship a box that is this big and it needs to go, my warehouse is in this place in Wyoming, and I need to send it to Florida, it's going to be 6 business days for it to get there. And so it can do stuff that just wasn't doable before because chat could chat. And I think this is where the magic happens. And again, especially once you start having API calls where you can basically communicate with any platform that you have today, you can do things that are incredible because you can literally answer anything you have the information to, either in your systems or in third-party systems. Again, I'm sorry that I'm stealing this. I'm just so excited about that stuff. But we talked about ski rentals. What's going to be the weather in this and that resort next Wednesday? And it can talk to an API that is a weather API and get you an answer. And so it's these things that even if it's not in the actual data set, but you give it access to the places where it can go and find information, it will find information and it will be very useful for the user that is communicating with it. Because traditionally, that was the role again, in our simple example of a travel agent, right? The travel agent will take his time and but it will take him 5 minutes every time. And it will take this about half of a second to do the same thing. And so this is where it gets really exciting.
And what's cool about this, you can actually use this to integrate with hundreds or thousands of different services, right? If you have a ticketing system and if you want to create a ticket, if, when something happens, like you can just describe like in what condition you should be actually using this tool. And then from there, you can just connect it to that ticketing system and that pass the information there to be able to just have the data, track the data on your ticketing system. So this just opens like so many possibilities. And that's actually how we were actually using, like we were using this for Jotform's own customer support. And we have our own like homegrown like bug or support ticketing system. And we actually use the API to integrate with that and to be able to like just, if the AI agent cannot answer the questions or a problem, then it just says, okay, I opened the ticket for you and someone will get back to you as soon as possible. And that way we were able to connect the user to our team.
Yeah. So this is like the escalation method, right? So when the AI gets stuck, then it will escalate it to probably either a different chat with an actual human or, like you're saying, just opening a ticket for the right. And again, that's another thing. It knows which department to open it to based on the context, like all the other stuff that usually you would have to ask the user to do. Again, think about any customer service ticket you open. Okay, is this about technical support? Is this about a refund? You don't need that because it understands that from the conversation. And so all these things that used to be really annoying as a customer will hopefully cease to exist sometime in the near future.
Basically, this is what we do really best, to be able to like connect the agents with forms. If the person who is really speaking to the AI agent needs to actually fill out a form, it can actually, we could just add that form to the agent. And basically the agent knows that, okay, if the user needs to have a medical appointment, in this case, like it doesn't apply to the ski rental example,
Yeah,
but
it's all good.
we could test it. Like, can I make a rate? Right, I will just ask that question. Okay, can I make a medical appointment. And basically, it just started filling out that form. And we could actually see that form. We could see
Again,
it.
for those of you who are not watching, there is no form on the screen. It's like a chat interface. And as Aytekin said before, this could be voice, but it will basically ask you the questions that are in the form and you will provide it and it will fill the form behind the scenes. So from a data perspective, you have all that data.
Yeah. So basically, I'm filling out the form and it's just showing me like how much I progressed here. And basically, I could actually, like, if I prefer to fill out the form directly, I could just click on this button and just go to the
You
form.
can see the
As you
form and
can
fill up the
see,
form.
I entered my name and it entered there. And basically, it can take the appointments and we have the form here and I can submit it, or I can just submit it over by just typing here, or I could just use the voice agent. And let's see.
Welcome to our website. How can we help you today?
Yeah, I want to make an appointment.
Could you please tell me your phone?
My name is it was actually
Could you please provide your date of birth?
so yeah, it's actually much
So
faster. Yeah.
I want to talk about this for a minute. I think, again, we talked about this before, that voice and natural conversation will become the user interface. Think about how many cases
Let's
you
focus
cannot
on your
fill out the
appointment.
form.
Could you please
Let's end the call.
Let's think about, you cannot fill up a form when you're driving. You cannot fill up a form when you're walking your dog. You cannot fill up a form when you're making dinner. You cannot fill up. So in many cases where you want to sign up your kids for something, or you want to sign up yourself for something, or you will do that. Okay, I'll do this when I get back to the office. I'll do this when I get back home. I'll do this when and now you don't have to do this. You can literally just open it and talk with your voice and fill out the information. So a lot of barriers that existed before are just disappearing because you can literally just have a voice conversation and do that while you were not productive before. And so it really opens a whole new universe of engagement between people who want to collect data and people who want to provide their data because they need a service or an appointment or whatever the case may be.
I want to show you one more thing on the train tab, which is you can actually talk to your AI agent. Basically, as the like the manager of the AI agent, you can just provide instructions. So like you don't actually have to use all these different options. You can just do like many things by just talking to your AI agents. And I think this is the ultimate user experience, just by speaking to your AI agents, right? Let's say if people want to take appointments, make appointments, right? Yeah, take them. Right. I can provide instructions. I can ask it to do things.
So this is another means of training, which is just you talking to the agent, explaining what you want it to do versus having to use websites or links or pages or whatever. You can just have a conversation with it and teach it that way, just like you would do with a human, right? If you hire a person, you will let them read the manual, but then you will also sit with them and give them like the way you want them to do the job. And the only difference between this and the person is that he doesn't forget anything. To remember everything you tell him.
Basically, it created a new action for me, right? Like it just added this action because I actually instructed it, and it actually understood that I wanted to take appointments. It understood that there's a form, so it just created this action for me. Let's try something else. I don't think I've tried this before. Like, can you change your name to, I don't know, what kind of name, what name should we give her?
Jill.
Is it like this? Did I write it, type it right? All right.
Very cool.
So it says it's changed it. We don't see it here, but I'm just going to refresh the page to see. Yes.
Yeah, it works.
Actually did that too.
Very cool.
So basically, the idea is that you should be able to, like, you shouldn't need to use this, but you should be able to actually use just talk to your AI agent and to be able to provide instructions. And it's just like you are the employer and the AI agent is your employee. And basically you train it, you instruct it, and it just does what you need it to do. And that's the idea. And it should be able to do that by just speaking to it.
I have one last question that relates to, again, another benefit of this. And I don't know if that's implemented yet or what's the plan with that, but how does it continue to learn? Meaning, does it learn from stuff it doesn't know before? Does it open like a ticket for the company to add information that it's missing because a lot of people are asking about it? What about like a built-in feedback loop that this thing can continuously learn on stuff it doesn't know?
Yeah, let's try that. Let's ask it a question that it doesn't know. What can we do about where are you located? It doesn't have that information yet. We haven't given that information. So now we ask that question. So what it did was it's basically gonna, because it's not able to answer this question, it's gonna actually send me an email, but it's gonna also inform me about there was a question I couldn't write. I don't have a physical location. So it gave not very meaningful answer, but if I go back to this chat, I expected to, let's go back to this chat. And basically it didn't work now, but basically what it does is
But the idea is it will provide you a user interface for you to teach it the stuff that it doesn't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
And it doesn't have that, but yeah, we're still working on this. So
Still
working on this. Yeah.
So this was great. I think we covered a lot of stuff and a lot of things that people probably don't know. I think people have this mystic view of what agents are. Like, okay, they hear everybody talks about agents, but this is basically what it is, right? It's a tool that can learn about you, your company, your processes through various means, again, including just talking to it. And it can take actions and it can provide feedback and it can connect to multiple tools that it can use, basically working in this particular case like a customer service agent. And again, I think we gave a great overview to people that will demystify some of the concepts of agents. If people want to learn more about this specific tool, if people want to follow you, if people want to learn more about Jotforms, what are the best ways to do that?
So we are about to release this. It's going to be available on February 25th. Okay. And so they can contact me on my website, aytekintank.com, and they can find out about this Jotform AI agents when we release it on the Jotform website. And I'm going to also share a link with you so you can actually put it on the show notes.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. So this is really exciting.
This was really awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm sure you have other stuff to do as running a big company than being on podcast. I really appreciate coming over. I really appreciate sharing this. I think you're doing all the right things. I think this is going to be, I want to say the future, but that's becoming the present, right? It's the world in which we communicate through forms and just dry communication through text is going to go away, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Thank you, Isar, for having me on the show.